Hello, I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and today's video is all about a plant haul I recently made. So I went to a nursery near here and bought myself a load of pink perennials for a border, the border there behind me. So I'm going to talk you through what I got, why I got it. I've been very heavy on the Peruvian lilies and the bee balm. Absolutely love those guys, and just show you where I'm going to plant them. So let's get on with the video. You are very welcome to this video all about a recent plant haul I made, and here it is sitting beside me in the wheelbarrow. They tend to be pastel colours, pink perennials, and we're going to talk through them in just a minute, but aren't they absolutely gorgeous? If you're new to the channel, you should know that Douentza Garden is in Southern Ireland, and my garden, it's about an acre in size, which is half a hectare, and the climate roughly equates to hardiness zone 9. The downside is that although we do have quite mild winters, we have less sun in summer. Now today is not representative. I think we're kind of in a bit of a heat wave at the moment, so we have lots of really good sunshine. Anyway, these are the perennials, and where did I buy them for? Well, just before we get into talking through them, I want to let you know that they are for this border here behind me, which, as you can see, is very heavy on the hostas. Now you're probably asking why so many hostas in a position which is full sun, and it really is a full sun position here in the garden. Well, the reason is that these hostas were planted a very long time ago when my garden was new and where everywhere was full sun, and I guess it was a kind of a novelty to be able to grow hostas. So any of them that actually took full sun, I kept. Now, as time has progressed, there is less sun, less full sun borders in my garden. So I guess that means less colour. So everywhere that is in full sun, I'm trying my best to take full advantage of and plant lots and lots of colourful things. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to rip out these hostas. I do have other places to put them, and I'm going to plant pretty pink things, these ones here. And you may know, if you watch my videos, I am more an orange type of person. I love orange flowers and strong reds and colours like that. So you're probably asking, why did I go for pastels in this particular occasion? And the answer is that this part of the garden, the west garden, the colour scheme in it is very much pastel. Lots of whites, lots of pale pinks and pale blues. So I felt that if I put orange and red in here, it would be very garish. So we're just basically sticking to the theme that's in this part of the garden. Now, the real big advantage of buying plants in summer, in July, it's now July, is that you can see what they look like in flower, and you can mix and match. I spent so long in the nursery deciding what to buy, going away, finding a plant, bringing it back, putting it in my wheelbarrow, seeing if the colours matched the other plants that were there. So that really is a good advantage, because photographs never show the true shade of flowers, and you can end up with something that doesn't quite go with the other plant that you bought for it to go with. Before I go any further, I have to tell you where I bought these perennials, and if you're in Ireland, you'll be very familiar with the wonderful nursery called Kilmurry, which is located in Gorey in North Wexford. And I went down to Kilmurry, and you know, it's my birthday soon. I was quite sure. I went in there with the intention of doing some damage to my bank balance, and look what I got. It's not hard to pick up plenty of plants there at Kilmurry and just know exactly where you're going to put them in your garden. Now, if you're Irish as well, you probably know Kilmurry because they visit all of the shows, all of the gardening shows. They have stalls there, and they bring their wonderful plants for us to buy as well. So that's really nice. But now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the individual ones. First up, we have an Alstermeria. Now, I absolutely love Peruvian lilies, or lily of the Incas. There are several common names for this plant, but that doesn't matter, because what does matter is the fantastic exotic looking flowers that these beautiful plants produce. And when I saw this particular one, I absolutely fell in love with the colour. It is absolutely difficult to describe. There's something of kind of purpley in there, definitely pink. Anyway, you see for yourself what it looks like, and the flowers are large. Now this one is called Adonis, and it seems to be a relatively new variety, because I couldn't find a whole lot of information about it on the internet, except to say that it seems to be a low growing one. Now I do prefer the tall growing Alstermeria, and this one seems to grow to 45 to 60 centimeters according to the label, although I have my doubts because it does seem very tall already. In any case, 45 to 60 centimeters is a good height, because it, I suppose, roughly correlates to my favourite Alstermeria, the one called Oriana, which does a great job of just supporting itself. So I guess the shorter the Alstermeria, the less likely it is to need staking. So in any case, if it's tall, that's grand, I'll stake it. If it's a little bit shorter, that's even more brilliant in many senses, because it won't need staking. Now Alstermeria, I've talked about them so much, absolutely love them to bits, and I have so many different kinds in my garden. A lot of pinks, a lot of whites, a lot of oranges, and now I have this gorgeous purple one too, so I'm very happy to add it to the collection. If you missed my video, my recent video, last Sunday's video on how to grow Alstermeria, I'm going to link it up here so that you will know exactly what's involved in having this beautiful flower in your garden. It's hardy for me, it's hardy in my zone, but a lot of people asked recently about the heat as well, because I guess you can talk about the hardiness of a plant, which means how much cold it can tolerate in summer, but if you live in a hot climate, you certainly need to consider whether it can tolerate the heat. And I believe that Alstermerias tolerate heat zones 7 to 10 or 7 to 12 depending on variety, so it is a great plant if you live in that kind of climate. I love these. I love to mix and match them in borders, and I think that's going to look super beside these other plants here. By the way, don't worry about that drooping there. When I took it from the garden centre, it was actually, the roots had grown down through the pot and had attached to the ground, so when I ripped it up, it made it droop. It damaged it a little bit, so I'm just going to put this back in a pot of water when we're finished, and it will be grand. I also got a second Alstermeria, which is this gorgeous pink one over here, called Andes Rose, and I absolutely love the kind of antique-y pink colour of that. I think it's going to look so well with the other plants that I've chosen. This one is supposedly quite tall, 90 centimetres in height, which is like the kind of height I normally like for my border plants, and they are going to look absolutely fantastic together. Now, recently I did buy a third Alstermeria, which isn't visible here, but we're going to go and look at it now because it's already planted in the garden. And this Alstermeria is called Summer Breeze. So it's part of the summer series. It's generally known as Summer Breeze, but the registered name for it is something quite different. In any case, it's part of the Summer Paradise Summer series, and it has beautiful yellow-orange flowers, as you can see, absolutely lovely, and dark foliage. Now, the information says dark green leaves, but these are more dark than green to me, which is great because dark foliage is a definite plus in my books, just to kind of contrast what's going on in the borders. You have a lot of green, so it's good to have some dark foliage in there as well. This one gets to 1 meter in height apparently, and it's great for pollinators. It has been assigned the status of RHS plants for pollinators, so that's really good, and I assume this is a label that applies to all Alstermeria. Summer Breeze is of course in the same series as Indian Summer, which I've grown for many years and absolutely love. A real stunner of a plant with those very vibrant, striking flowers and the dark, dark foliage. Right down here at the bottom we have an Astrantia, but look at that, it's an Astrantia with variegated foliage. And speaking of foliage, I just talked about it in relation to the Alstermeria called Summer Breeze. It's very good to have contrasting foliage, and cream and green look so, so wonderful. Now this is a plant that is going to flower with pink pincushion flowers. It's not actually in flower at the moment, but it could be, let's just say, because my Astrantias elsewhere in the garden are just going over now. So I chose the one in the nursery that didn't have flowers because it was just a better plant, but I think it should flower in conjunction with these other things. If not exactly at the same time, there should be some overlap as this one goes over. But pincushion flowers or Astrantia are an absolute favourite of mine, and I linked to a video I made up above where I talked about how to care for them. Great for herbaceous borders, such super, super flowers. Very architectural in a sense, in that there's interest in the shape of the flower rather than not just the simple colour. And when they finish flowering, you can cut them to the base, and then they send up bright green leaves, or cream leaves in this case, and you have more interest to coincide with the other plants that are in your border until the end of the season. Now we move on to the first of the Monardas, and just look at the colour of that flower. Isn't it absolutely fantastic? It just, I don't know how you describe that, and that is the same story for several of the plants I bought here today. Just amazing. It needs a bit of water. I need to put this back in this bucket of water. It's drying out too rapidly because of course Monardas, they do need moist, well-drained soil and full sun. All of these plants are up for full sun. Now this is a shorter one than the other Monardas I've bought, about 45 centimetres in height, and it's part of the B series of Monardas, but gorgeous. I love the fragrance of the foliage, and this little beauty and the group in general, of course, bee balm is what they're known as, so great for bees. They are actually part of the mint family, so if you get the conditions right, they will spread. And I've noticed this with my Cambridge Scarlet, my Monardas Cambridge Scarlet. I now have a really beautiful, healthy clump, which is a definite bonus for something as beautiful as this. So you can see how the Monardas, they have these kind of a cushion of flower at the top. If you're lucky, you'll get a stem that comes out from the center of the flower, and you'll actually have a second flower above. Absolutely wonderful. And yeah, just a fantastic thing, and one of my recent obsessions. So yeah, we're going to try a few different Monardas. Okay, so this one, the flowers have just gone over. It's called Marshall's Delight, and I just didn't deadhead because I just wanted to show you the colour. So quite a deep pink, really, really pretty. Same dealio, but this one is taller, about 90 centimetres, and I think it has an AGM award because of its mildew resistant, really quite mildew resistant. And that can be a problem with Monardas in that they suffer from mildew, which you'll see with this other one I have here, which is also award winning, but unfortunately has been struck by the dreaded mildew just at the moment. Now, so there we go. Wow. The scent from this one is amazing, and look at the structure of those flowers. They're absolutely fantastic, and you can see what I mean there about the doubling up of the flowers. A second flower emerging from the center of the first is a wonderful bonus. Now this one does have a touch of mildew, but once it gets in the ground it should be grand. This one's called Beauty of Covum. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but wherever that is anyway, it produced this gorgeous Monarda. Monarda, of course, are from the States, originally, but over here in Europe a lot of us grow them in our borders for their architectural structure and their beautiful, beautiful colours. Wonderful plants to have in the border in July. Right, so what's next? Next up we have the Sildacia, and this one is called Elsie Hue, and just look at those fantastic mauve pink flowers with their fluted edges and the clusters that just emerge on the spikes. As I said, it's drooping a little bit, it needs to be put in some water. It's a terribly hot day. I'll do that just as soon as I finish this video. Now, Sildacia, they only flower once a year in July. I have another one already in the garden which you may have seen in my garden tours, a really, really tall one, but this one is shorter and gets to about a metre in height, and it needs moist, well-drained soil and full sun. So Bob's your uncle here, really. I mean, this is what most of these plants are going to get. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. There's something kind of primrosy about the shape of the flowers, I think, like a most exotic primrose, and I think it's going to make a wonderful bedfellow for these other gorgeous things here, such as this beautiful spiry one up here. Now, the common name for this plant is purple loosestrike, although mine isn't purple at all, it's pink. And the botanic name is Lythrum blush, a fantastic plant that has received the Award of Garden Merit from the RHS and is excellent for pollinators as well. And I have to tell you that I was leaving the nursery, I'd bought the other things, when I got into my car and noticed that right in front of where I'd parked the car, this beautiful plant was just on display. And I thought to myself, my goodness, that is going to go so well with the other things I have already in my car. So out I got and I bought it, went back to, they must have thought I was absolutely mad, and put it in my basket. And I am going to just love this tall beauty at the back of the border. It reaches about a metre in height, and just look at the number of flowers on these spires. It's absolutely fantastic. It's also extremely hardy to about -20 centigrade. So basically these are the plants I've bought for the border there behind me. I can't wait to get them planted. It is really hot here at the moment, but I just feel myself itching to get them in the ground. The disadvantage, I said that the advantage of buying in summer is that you can see what is going to be in flower at the same time. It's July now, and I know that all of these guys are going to be in flower in July. So when I put them together in the border, they're going to go on and just do fantastic things. And they always say, when planting up a new border, you do need to consider other seasons, but you need to consider first and foremost the main season of interest of that border. Now, this border here is a July border. It will look its best in July. At a later stage I may add in bulbs for spring interest or other things for autumn, but the choice of what to add in that respect is superfluous. It shouldn't detract from the main import of your display. It shouldn't compromise what you have in there. So, like for example, if I have the Alstermeria in prime position, I shouldn't decide to move it over a bit just to let a few allium bulbs find position and look good in spring. The primary focus has got to be July for this border. And just before we leave this, I hope I might make a video when I plant this up. We shall see. The disadvantage, I didn't end my sentence there, but the disadvantage of planting up in summer, of course, is that you're going to have to keep things so well hydrated. And for example, the hostas that I'm going to dig up, I don't actually want to discard them like some of them will do very well in other places in the garden, but they will struggle, especially if I divide them. These guys will do better in the ground if I keep them watered than in pots. Look, they're already struggling a bit in pots, so I do want to prioritize getting them in the ground, and surely with something that pretty to look at, I will be prompted to water and make sure that they do really well. But before we leave this, there is one more plant I want to show you, and it is a plant called Farfugium Wavy Gravy. Isn't that just the most amazing name? Now this is a plant, relatively new plant, that I've had my eye on for about 2 years, looking at it and thinking, oh my goodness, what a fantastic plant with its beautiful leaves with wavy edges, very architectural, and one that is grown for the foliage. It does produce yellow flowers later in the season, but this is one that's grown primarily for the foliage. And the labels always said that it was hardy, and frankly I didn't believe it. But now I'm going to take a punt, and I have already planted it in the garden, which is what you're looking at now. Looks so absolutely wonderful there. This is a plant that counterintuitively it needs, well drained soil but some shade. Now you can actually plant it in full sun if you have really moist soil. I've chosen to go with the shade option and the well-drained soil, and I hope it'll do well for me. I hope it will come through the winters. Supposedly hardy to -5 centigrade according to the RHS website, so we shall see over time. And I guess that kind of brings me to the end of this video about the new plants I bought. My new pastel border, which is here behind me, and a couple of additional ones that I just couldn't help mentioning while I was in the area. I hope you're having a wonderful summer. I hope everything is blooming fantastically in your garden and getting enough water as well. So do check back on Sunday when I will have a video for you, a brief 3-minute video on some aspect of gardening, and then at this time, Thursday next week, you can expect a longer video like this one. Yeah, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.